A very good morning to you all. Today we shall be acquiring some knowledge about the environmental pollutions. Okay, that is a part of Unit 4, under which we shall be dealing with various types of pollutions such as air, water, soil, and noise pollution, their cause, their effects, and the control measures. So let's begin. So, how do you define a pollution? Pollution is a state of disbalance or unorderly characterization of a particular area. That is, okay, in a simple term, it can be defined as a presence or introduction of any type of pollutants in the environment. Okay, that is, that changes the characteristics, that is, which is undesirable and which changes the characteristics of the particular area. Okay, it results from the introduction of harmful materials, that is commonly known as pollutants, either by natural factors or human activities into the environment, which in turn affects the quality of the environment, as you can see in the picture. Okay, there is a differential picture where you can see in one side it is totally polluted and the quality of the environment is affected. On the other hand, it is green all around with full of biodiversity in it. Okay, so any undesirable change in the physical, chemical, and biological characteristics of a particular area is termed as pollution. Okay, now, and if the change should have a negative effect. Okay, so what are the causes of pollution? So mainly the term which we use for the agents responsible for pollution is a pollutant. Okay, so how do you define a pollutant? Pollutant are the substance that are released into the environment from various polluting sources. Okay, there may be either solid, liquid, or gas pollutants, or any form of energy such as the thermal, the sound, or the radioactive energy. Okay, so the degradation product of some of the pollutant itself are the pollutants. Okay, as for example the DDT. Okay, upon degradation of DDT, it gives two products, that is DDE and triple D. Both of the subproducts, that is both of the degraded products of DDT, are also harmful, and they also act as a pollutant. Okay, so here are the examples of some of the noble pollutants. Okay, well-known pollutants such as mercury. Okay, this mercury is well known for disaster which is called as Minamata disaster. Okay, persistent organic pollutants, ozone, which is there in the stratosphere layer of our atmosphere. Okay, and it protects us the earth from harmful ultraviolet rays, as we know. Particulate matters, these are small particles, okay, of size 10 millimeter to 2.5 millimeter, okay, in nature, and these are so minute, so small that they sometimes they used to go inside our body into our lungs, okay, upon inhalation, and it causes a lot of illness in our body. Environmental persistent pharmaceutical pollutants, obviously the pharmaceutical companies are known to manufacture a number of drugs throughout the year. Okay, so in the meantime, what do they the various sort of pollutants, that is the discarded materials or the byproducts of those processing substances, they get released into the atmosphere, and that this in turn cause the pollution. Polycyclic achromatic hydrocarbons, volatile organic compounds, etc. Volatile means the which in the gaseous form. The pollutants is mostly in the gaseous form. Sometimes it's the volatile substances. Okay, so these are all very much this all very much affects the environment, not only environment, and ultimately the living populations. Okay, here you can see when you burn a fish, or when you make barbecue, or when you just heat up the bread and all, some sort of aroma comes out, isn't it? So this sort of aroma are mostly termed as are due to their volatile nature. They comes out the gases they comes out due to the volatile nature of those particular compounds, and some of these compounds tends to be very much harmful and which acts as a pollutant. Okay, so what are the types of pollutions? Here are a number of pollutions listed. Some of which might be known to you since your school days. Okay, so here I shall be dealing with the only the first four. Okay, as per your syllabus, we shall be acquiring knowledge about this first four type of pollutions, that is air, water, soil, and noise. Okay, apart from this, there are thermal pollutions, that is mostly in the form of heat, radioactive pollutions in the form of radiations, light pollutions due to the light effect, chemical pollutions of obviously the fertilizer, pesticides, and all, agricultural pollutions, that is the leftover or the pest that they used, pesticide that they use, fertilizers that they use, it used to get washed away and get into the water and all. Okay, then visual pollution, obviously um, pollution means any undesirable change. Okay, so if there is garbage all around in your area, in your colony or in the roadside, it is not at all a good visualization, isn't it? So this leads to your visual pollution. So air pollutions, most of these types of pollutions are known to you since your school days, so I don't think it will be tough for you guys. Okay, so let's see one by one. Air pollution, mostly the introduction of undesirable substances into the air, isn't it? Either naturally or artificially. Here you can see in the picture there are the number of sources through which the pollutants are released into the atmosphere. First and foremost, you can see the natural sources, that is volcanic eruptions, okay, through lightning, etc. Then you can see the application of fertilizer in a particular area, the oil and gas releases, etc. Upon burning of the oil and gas, certain amount of pollutants, gaseous pollutants, get released into the atmosphere. Then the factories, from the factories, then the mobile entities, that is the moving parts, that is, as for example, the buses, engines, vehicles, aircrafts, etc. So these are all the sources from which the various type of air pollutants gets released into the atmosphere. So what are the causes of such air pollutions in our atmosphere? So mostly these are due to the release of various gaseous particles, suspended particulate matters, okay, into the environment. So due to various activities, okay, both natural as well as man-made activities. Okay, so dust particles, first and foremost, these are a type of pollutants which mostly are released into the atmosphere as a result of dust storms, volcanic eruptions, burning of fossil fuels, okay, automobile exhaust, wind, heavy wind sometimes brings in lots amount of dust. Okay, this releases a certain amount of dust particles into the air, which remains suspended for a particular time period, and that in turn affects the visibility as well as the respiratory system of living organisms, right? Next is your agricultural activities, such as various agricultural activities methods, such as the use of aerosol pesticide. Aerosol means the pesticides in the form of gaseous form. Okay, suppose you used to use this body spray. So this body spray contains the aerosol. Okay, that liquid, small liquid in the droplets. Okay, that is released into the air. Okay, so then slash and burn method, obviously the shifting cultivation. Okay, it adds to air pollutions in the form of harmful gases it emits, the smoke it emits, and fumigations, burning of agricultural wastes, etc. Release of, okay, this all releases the pollutants in the air. Here you can see in the pictures there are clouds of dust and smoke overtaking the particular area. Okay, even the factory can be seen properly. And next you can see the vehicular emissions, okay, through which the various gaseous pollutants, suspended particulate matters, this all really gets released into the atmosphere. Then you can see the scavenging, the sweepers, they are sweeping the road. Okay, here also the dust particles are generated. Okay, and then you can see the one of the farmer, he is burning his leftover crops. Okay, so you can see all these things, this contributes to the pollutants, which are mostly the air pollutants, okay, and which in turn creates a number of ill effects, both in the human beings as well as in the aquatic living organisms, other organisms as well. So industrial emissions, yeah, industrial emissions has contributed to a major part in the contribution of this one, air pollutants. Okay, in mostly the industrial processes such as the metallurgic plants, smelters, chemical plants, petroleum refineries, chimneys, exhaust, pulp and paper mills, etc. This all, the as a result of their processing work, they release a number of air pollutants into the atmosphere. Earlier, there was no control measures for such type of emissions, but later on, due to the advancement of the technology and the analysis of the certain ill effects of the such release, then nowadays there are various options available for filtering the exhaust, or filtering the materials whichever they need to the residue whichever they need to throw away as or discard. Okay, Then obviously automobile exhaust, combustion of petrol and diesel, both the fossil fuels, they release various type of gaseous pollutants like nitrogen oxides, carbon monoxide, which is very much harmful because carbon monoxide has the ability to take the vehicle of this hemoglobin, we can say. Normally the hemoglobin, what it does, it carries oxygen from our it carries oxygen, and it distributes to various parts of our cell, okay. But upon interaction with the carbon monoxide, the hemoglobin gives priority to the carbon monoxide because it has 400 times affinity with that of the carbon monoxide, and in turn the oxygen is not being used up by the hemoglobin, is not lifted by the hemoglobin, okay. This is just a simple overview of what I have stated, that mostly the oxygen is carried by hemoglobin throughout our body, okay. But if the hemoglobin gets a carbon monoxide compound, or sorry, molecule, then it will prefer to take the carbon monoxide along with it to our body cell. But our body cell doesn't require carbon monoxide, isn't it? Because it is poisonous. Rather, it needs oxygen. But due to the extent of pollution, this particular mechanism gets hampered, and in turn it affects our body. So, and then you can see that almost a quarter of hydrocarbons in the atmosphere which pollutes the air are released by the automobile exhaust, okay. So next is your ionizing radiation. So what do you mean by ionizing radiation? Radiations mostly are the radiations are mostly the form of energy which are released from radioactive materials, okay. And it comes under two categories, the ionizing category and the non-ionizing category. Mostly the ionizing category, they tends to ionize a particular atom, okay, and in turn it hampers the quality of that element, okay. So in this picture you can see the DNA. The DNA, mostly the living body is made up of cells, and the cells contains DNA, and this particular DNA is affected by the radiations. Not all type of radiations are harmful, but you can see from the picture, not all radiations are passing through the hand directly, okay. Some of which are passing. So this sort of radiations badly affects the living environment in the form of mutation, in the form of tissue damage, etc. Okay. So unearthing or exposure of radioactive elements, testing of atomic weapons and atomic explosions release harmful ionizing radiations in the environment, which adversely affects the quality of the air as well as the human being, okay. Aerosols, like I said, these are fine solid particles or liquid droplets that are suspended in air and are considered harmful to both plants and animals, okay. So the best example to memorize this aerosol is your body spray, okay. It contains some fine solid particles, isn't it? When you spray, then fine solid water droplet particles comes out, okay, or liquid droplets particle come out. So these are considered to be very much harmful, as they tend to remain suspended into the air and in turn affects the quality of the air. Chlorofluorocarbons, these are very common agents which are responsible for ozone layer degradation, okay. So you can see the chlorofluorocarbons are certain compounds used in refrigerators for cooling, contained in air conditioners, okay. It is used in refrigerators, air conditioners, coolers, okay, paint industries, etc. Aerosol sprays, they are responsible for depletion of the ozone layer in the stratosphere region with the passage of time, and affects the quality of the air, obviously. Here you can see in the second picture the effect of chlorofluorocarbon. The reaction between chlorofluorocarbon and the ozone is shown very clearly. What happens when this chlorofluorocarbon interacts with the ozone of the stratosphere zone? Due to the effect of the ultraviolet rays, the chlorofluorocarbon gets disintegrated, okay, and thereby releasing the chlorine molecule. And this chlorine molecule is very much harmful for the ozone because it tends to disintegrate the ozone molecule further, okay, thereby releasing of oxygen and one part of this chlorine and oxygen combination, okay. Normally the ozone is composed of three elements of oxygen, that is O3, okay. Volcanic eruption. Volcanic gases that poses the greatest potential hazards are sulfur dioxide, carbon dioxide and hydrogen fluoride, okay. Locally, sulfur dioxide gas can lead to acid rain, as we know, and we'll be studying later in the next in the upcoming slides, okay, about the acid rain, okay. Mostly the acid rain is formed due to the sulfur dioxide and nitrogen dioxide emissions, okay. So this sulfur dioxide gas can lead to acid rain and the air pollution downwind from a volcano. These gases can come from the lava flow as well as the volcano that erupts violently. So what are the effects of pollutions, air pollutions? So if the most feared effect of air pollution is the death. Okay, obviously because the air pollutants mostly they affect the respiratory system of our body, and we know we are if we can live for some days without food and water, but without breathing then it's normally impossible. Okay, so this air pollutants mostly they affect the lungs area, and this in turn affects the respiratory quality capacity of our lungs, and in turn it poses a great threat for our uh, life. The most hazardous effect of air pollution is that in severe cases due to accumulation of poisonous gases, okay, as for example the carbon monoxide which I've stated earlier. The harmful air pollution corrodes all the body passages. That means it reduces the carrying capacity of the blood, as for example that of the as I've given you the example of that hemoglobin and oxygen, isn't it? And also it leads to the loosening of the elasticity of the alveoli, okay, present in our lungs. Now, diseases, various respiratory diseases like asthma, bronchitis are caused due to air pollutions. Also, certain pollutants cause premature aging, that is, aging before the normal time. And reduction in the oxygen carrying capacity in the blood, skin, and mucous membrane and alveoli gets affected, like I stated earlier. So these are various health effect of air pollution. Okay, first and foremost, you see there are various sources of air pollution represented in the picture. There is the industrial pollution, vehicular pollution, road dust, construction dust, biomass burning, that is burning of the agricultural leftover, deforestation activities. Obviously, this also hampers the quality of the air. Waste burning. Okay, so all this leads to various complications in our body, in the such as the headaches, fatigue. Okay, nervous system, it affects the nervous system as well. The skin itching, irritation is very much common in badly affected or polluted areas. Itching and inflammation of the eyes, obviously cardiovascular damage that is related to the heart, chest tightness, and asthma like symptoms. Okay, so these are all the health effects of air pollutions and their respective their sources. Now, destruction of crops, various air pollutants such as sulfur dioxide, nitrogen dioxide, ammonia, ground level ozone, etc., cause heavy damage to crops, resulting in heavy agricultural loss. See, there are two types of ozone. Okay, one that which is present in the stratosphere region, it's very much good and very much beneficial for the mankind. Okay, but on the other hand, the ozone which is present in the lower level, that is ground level, is very much harmful for the mostly for the crops. Okay, as for the human beings as well. So you should remember this. So impure air interferes with the plant's physiological process, thereby impairing the proper growth, reproduction, and development. Obviously, the plants do take up the certain type of chemicals. Okay, absorb certain type of chemicals. So the impure air leads to the improper functioning of their physiological systems. Okay, of the systems. Now, fluorosis and necrosis. So fluorosis basically means the yellowing of leaves, okay, due to the lack of chlorophyll, and necrosis means the death of the cells or the tissues. Okay, so presence of sulfur dioxide and fluorides in the air causes insufficient production of chlorophyll. Okay, we know the mostly the green color of the leaves is due to the presence of chlorophyll. Like you can see behind me, also there are various type of leaves. Okay, so mostly these are green because the presence of various type of chlorophylls. Okay, and due to the certain gaseous pollutants, air pollutants, the production of this chlorophyll tends to decrease, and this in turn affects the coloration of the leaves. Okay, and the mostly the leaves are seen in this case to be yellow in nature. Gases like sulfur dioxide, nitrogen dioxide, ozone, and fluorides causes breakdown of cells, which is termed as necrosis. Okay, as you can see in the lowermost picture, in one part the plant is very much healthy, and the other part you can see there are browning of the leaves, yellowing of the leaves, and wilting of the leaves. Okay, so these are all are the effects of the air pollutants. And yes, here is your acid rain, as oxides of nitrogen and sulfur released from various sources like coal, burning power plants, factory automobiles, volcanic eruption, decaying vegetation, etc., are discharged in the air, which when mixes with the rainwater, and when it pours down back into the earth, this phenomenon is termed as the acid rain. Okay, and this particular precipitation affects the land, water bodies. Okay, it affects the naturally dwelling organisms both in land and the aquatic region. Okay, so what happens with this, mostly the two compounds are responsible, that is nitrogen dioxide and sulfur dioxide. These are released from various sources into the environment, and when it mixes with the water, okay, when it mixes with the clouds, okay, and it converts into sulfuric acid and nitric acid respectively, and this when the precipitation takes place, so the water which it falls down mostly is in the form of this acid, okay, mostly it contains this sort of acids, and hence this sort of precipitation is termed as acid rain, okay. It is seen to badly affect the aquatic life, the terrestrial land plants, and the historical monuments as well. The best example in India is that of the Taj Mahal. Earlier it is made up of limestone, Sangmarmar, you know. So that earlier it is very much glowing in nature, whitish in nature, okay, but due to the effect of acid rain, it gets corroded, and the slightly brownish color appearance, okay, has formed, okay. So next is your ozone layer depletion. Like I stated, the ozone layer is present at the stratosphere region, and that particular type of ozone at that layer, it serves as an umbrella to protect the dwelling organism on the earth from the harmful ultraviolet rays of the sun, okay. Now use of aerosols, CFCs, that is chlorofluorocarbon, etc., destroy this particular ozone layer, and I have stated the mechanism of how they destroy the ozone layer, okay, and this particular thing leads to the cancer of the eye, skin, and the irritation, okay. So you can see the stratosphere ozone has been represented as in the form of deep blue color markings, and you can see the three form of ultraviolet rays, that is A, B, and C. So mostly the B and C ultraviolet categories are very much harmful, and this is obstructed by the entry of this type of ultraviolet rays are restricted by the ozone layer, okay, due to the presence of the ozone layer. Now you can imagine what if there is no ozone layer, okay, in that particular region. So this sort of harmful ultraviolet rays will enter into the earth, okay, can penetrate the layer, stratospheric layer, and enter the earth surface, and in turn this will affect all the living matter present on that area. So mostly another example of this air pollutants, the effects which the air pollutant cause, is the greenhouse effect, okay. That means concentration of gases like carbon dioxide, that means concentration of the gases like the greenhouse gases, okay, results in the increase in temperature of the earth, okay, which ultimately is known as the phenomenon of global warming. So mostly what you can see in this picture, the sun rays, incoming sun rays after striking the earth's surface, mostly it is get absorbed, some it is rebound back, okay, and some part it gets entrapped, okay, due to the presence of the greenhouse gases in the atmosphere, okay, and this leads to the this is known as the greenhouse effect, and ultimately it leads to the phenomenon known as the global warming. So these gases, when mixed with the air, causes serious climatic change, right, and affects the life, health, and property of the life forms dwelling in it. So next is your smoke. Smoke. Earlier, the definition of smoke was it is a mixture of smoke and fog. Okay, like that. It was very much simple in term earlier, but later on it is realized that not always it is made up of only these two components, but various other factors are also responsible for the formation of smoke. So smoke formed mainly above urban centers is composed mainly of tropospheric ozone, okay, primary particulate matter such as pollen grain and dust, and secondary particulate matters such as sulfur dioxide, sulfur oxides, volatile organic compounds, nitrogen oxides, and ammonia gas, okay. So you can see in this picture it is totally gloomy, isn't it? The visibility is quite low, and it is by the sun shining above, we can say it is a daytime, but you can't see the area properly, isn't it? The visibility is quite restricted, it is quite low. So this is due to the smoke present in that particular area, okay. That is the number of gaseous pollutants which are released, suspended particulate matters, dust particles which are released through various sources. They tend to come up and remain suspended in the air. They are mostly in the tropospheric region of the air, and this in turn affects the quality of the air, affects the visibility, as well as various other ill effects. Is a matter of concern as a result of these smoke particles. Now, control measures of air pollutions, mostly if we see the problems, if we take the problems one by one, obviously the solutions can be also will be easy to remember, okay. So first one is for the source of vehicular emissions. Okay, devices like the crankcase ventilation bulb catalytic converter can be used to reduce the emission from the automobiles. Okay, so next is your smoke and dust from the industries can be minimized by use of electrostatic precipitator and cyclone precipitator, but mostly used method of minimizing the smoke and dust in industries is the misting technique, in which jet spray is water droplets is fine water droplets are being sprayed, okay, and the dust are being removed. Okay, so normally we also usually do. You might have seen the pan dukan walas in front of their shop in the on the road. They used to sprinkle the water, okay, just to settle down the dust in that particular area. So the same very technique is used in a modernized way in case of the misting process. Okay, then gases from industries can be removed by different solubility of gases in the water by filtration using scrubbers or absorption using activated carbons. So you can see the pictures, you can relate with the pictures. First two pictures are of the crankcase ventilation and the catalytic converters. Okay, so in case of crankcase ventilation, what happens, the air which gets out which is released in as a result of combustion is instead of releasing it directly into the environment, it is again retraced back, okay, into the combustion sector, so that it is completely burned out. Okay, and you can see the catalytic converter. What happens, a number of air pollutants which are produced as a source of the working out of the engine as a source of combustion is passed through a filter which converts the harmful air into less harmful air. Okay, or you can say the effect of this the toxicity of this compound gets neutralized, okay, as a result of the catalytic converter. And then you can see the electrostatic precipitator. Here the application of electricity is taken into concern. What happens, the dust particles, they are passed through this electrostatic precipitator equipment, and upon passing, the charge is acquired by the dust particles, okay, and there are metal plates which acquires the opposite charge, and in turn of when the air passes through this chamber, what happens, the dust particles, they get attracted to the metal plates and they are separated out from the air, thereby releasing the fresh air or the good quality of the air only. And you can see the cyclone precipitator and the misting, as I have earlier explained. Now then you can see the filtration by scrubbers, okay, and the activated carbons. These are all this filtration by scrubber or this activated carbon. These are all, they use the same age old technique, but little bit in a modernized way, okay, in removing the impurities from the air. Okay, now then radio waste, for how to deal with the radioactive waste. Okay, so the primary method which normally the world uses is the burial of the radioactive substances deep into the ground. Okay, as you can see, it is shown in the pictures where the JCB has dug out the particular area. The radioactive substances are been put, and then the metal blocks, the lead blocks are been placed. Okay, so in this way, upon complete enclosure of the radioactive substance, the effect of the radiations can be minimized. Okay, but most of the time, due to accidental unearthing of this sort of radioactive waste, the various ill effects takes place, and the release of pollutants takes place in the atmosphere. The legislation obviously is, if you were to maintain a particular situation, then you need legislation, because on contrary, if people would be very much sensitive, then obviously they wouldn't have committed any, they don't would or intend to commit any sort of illegal activities. Okay, legislation on some part, it keeps a hold, it keeps a check on various sort of activities performed by the humans. Okay, so the two main laws that regulate the air pollution in India are the Air Prevention and Control of Pollution Act 1981, the Air Act, and which is commonly known as the Air Act, and Environment Protection Act, that is in 1986. Okay, so this Air Prevention and Control of Pollution Act 1981, which is commonly known as the Air Act, is an act to provide prevention, control, and abatement of air pollution. Okay, abatement means minimizing the effect of air pollution, and for the establishment of boards at the central and state level with a view of carrying out aforesaid purposes, that is the prevention, control and abatement purpose. Okay. So obviously these two legislations measures tends to keep a check on the various type of pollutants released by the various industries, or you can see say the agricultural farmers, etc. And this in turn is very much effective in minimizing some part of the pollutions, air pollution effect. Okay, as for example, you can see the various type of pollution control board certificate is required, various for various vehicular activities, industrial emissions. You need to show the pollution control certificate or something like that. Okay, so this is a good measure to keep a check on the effect of pollution, and mostly human beings are not very much aware of various type of pollutants or which type of activities leads to the contribution of various type of air pollutants into the atmosphere. So in this regard, some awareness program is also required. So Government of India has laid down national ambient air quality standards, okay, for 12 air pollutants, namely particulate matter 10, particulate matter 2.5, carbon monoxide, sulfur dioxide, etc. Okay, so here you can see there is a chart under which the Government of India has set up certain permissible limits. Okay, you can skip the video and go through all these figures. The best way to protect ultimate and overall at the end, the best way to protect air quality is to reduce the emission of pollutants by changing to cleaner fuels, filtration techniques and conversion process. Okay, it is very much good and it will be very much effective if we tend to minimize or reduce the release of air pollutants into the atmosphere. Okay. Next is your water pollution. So normally water pollution means the various undesirable change in the characteristics of the water. Okay, maybe in the term of pollution or in terms of contaminations. Okay, by contaminations which badly affects the no doubt it badly affects the aquatic organism, but in turn when consumed by the human beings also give rise to various waterborne diseases. So it also affects the health of other living organisms in many ways, such as heavy metals. Mostly they interfere with the normal physiological activities, okay, as well as certain waterborne diseases such as dysentery, typhoid, cholera are some of the waterborne diseases which badly affects the human health. Now, what are the causes of water pollution? First and foremost, the domestic sewage. Mostly what we do, whatever the leftover materials is generated from the household activities, we just directly dump it into any sort of water streams or water channels, okay, or the nalas, etc. So this in turn it badly pollutes the water bodies. Okay, ultimately the nala, other water, small water channels, they ultimately lead into the rivers and then into the ocean, right? So we need to keep in mind that whatever we are contributing in our area is badly affecting the overall area. Okay, the process interferes with the foods of the aquatic system and pollutes the water. Obviously the plastics and all, everything, the nets and all, they badly interfere with the normal life of the aquatic organisms, and this in turn affects the quality of the water as well. So industrial effluents, mostly organic and inorganic effluents, are directly released into the water bodies by the industries, okay, and this leads to the water pollutions. As you can see in various industrial areas, mostly the water outlets is being directed towards that of the river bodies, okay, and as a result of the number of by waste generated, liquid waste or chemical waste generated in the by the industries, a number of the waste get dumped into the water bodies. It gets mixed into the water bodies and thereby affects the quality of the water as well as the life of the aquatic organisms. Agriculture, obviously, how does agriculture contributes to water pollution? First and foremost, whatever fertilizer and pesticides we are applying in the agriculture, okay, field, most of it, when it gets washed away, it goes into the water bodies, okay, it goes into the rivers, okay, then ultimately it pollutes the river bodies, and mainly the non-biodegradable ones, okay, are very much dangerous, are very much harmful for the ecosystem of a particular area. And then next is your oil spills, okay. Oil spills basically in the seas and oceans while transporting oils via ships, leakage or accidental cases. they get accumulated in the surface of the water, thereby affecting the marine life. You can see in the second picture, it is a picture of the oil spill in Chennai, okay, in 2017. And next one below it, you can see the marine life, okay, the mostly the aquatic birds, when they come and dip and take a dip into the oil laden water, what happens, their feathers get oiled, okay, and then thereby it affects the flight of the bird. And then you can see the turtle, not only turtle, a number of living aquatic organisms gets affected when they are in a oil contaminated area, okay. Global warming, this is a very common term which I think you might have heard since your which you might have been hearing since your school days, okay. So global warming means the rising temperature of the globe, okay. Simply we can say that it is the rising temperature of the globe due to various greenhouse gases, okay. So here you can see what is the effect of global warming. So in the picture you can see a particular fish in the water, aquatic, mostly it is about the aquatic organism, the mortality, the metabolism, the reproductive capacity, and the oxygen in the water, okay. They all decreases, okay. So this in turn affects the life of the fish in a particular aquatic environment. And you can see in the subsequent next picture that fish lying spreading all over, okay, because living organism requires a certain amount of optimum temperature for its growth and sustenance, okay, for carrying out various physiological activities inside its body. So when global warming takes place, this particular process gets hampered, and in turn it affects the life of a living organism, okay. So the main water pollutant, and so as for now you know the main water pollutants includes the bacteria, viruses, parasites, fertilizers, pesticides, pharmaceutical products, nitrates, phosphate, plastic, fecal waste, and even radioactive substances, okay. So in the second and third picture you can see what's in your tap water, a number of things which I have stated right now. And then in the third picture you can see how contaminants get into our water supply, okay, through various activities such as industrial activities, then agricultural activities, then fossil fuel emissions, and leakage, and then you can see the animals excreta, etc. These all contribute to the number of pollutants in the water, okay.